Today, I want to talk about 5 really good reasons why to file Social Security at 62. We've all heard the conventional advice wait as long as you can, delay as long as possible because your benefits go up every year that you delay. Now, that advice works for some people, but it doesn't work for everyone. So, I'm going to walk through 5 scenarios where filing at 62 actually makes a lot of sense. Reason one, you don't expect to live long. Yeah, that's a pretty obvious one. You know, the break even age for delaying Social Security is usually around 83. That means if you live past 83, then it generally pays off to delay. But if you don't expect to live to 83 or your break even age, then it doesn't make sense to delay. All those years that you were delaying from 62 to 70 are years that you could have been getting something from Social Security. And not reaching that break even age for you means that actually delaying and even getting a higher benefit still hasn't offset the opportunity cost of missing out on all those years you could have been collecting. And just another quick note here, life expectancy at birth is not the same life expectancy as when you're in your 60s. For example, at birth, the life expectancy is around 79 years old. But if you make it to your 60s, the life expectancy at that time is actually a lot longer. But the key is to be realistic about your situation. If you're not in great health, then delaying your Social Security doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Reason number two, you want your portfolio to keep growing. So filing early can actually help your portfolio continue to grow. Here's why. If you start collecting Social Security, that's less money that you have to pull from your investments to cover your expenses. This gives your portfolio more time to grow. Some people even invest their Social Security checks. There is a possibility that you can continue to grow your portfolio even as taking Social Security early. The problem with that is discipline. A lot of times, when people see money come into their pocket, especially government money, there's a tendency to spend that. But if that person's disciplined enough, then taking early and investing it could make a lot of sense. Just keep in mind the market does not have guarantees, and the market could be down those 8 years that you're investing it into the market. Reason number three, there's a significant gap between you and your spouse. So let's look at couples where there's a large age gap. Say you're 62 and your spouse is 92. You might think, okay, I'll wait until 70 and I'll maximize my Social Security benefit and be done with it. But here's the problem, the older spouse is far likely to predecease the younger spouse. When that happens, you'll switch over to the survivor benefit. Now, take this example. If you're 62 years old and your older spouse is 92, and let's say they're expected another 8 years to live. Well, if they pass away in 8 years at 100, and then you would be 70, at that point, you would get their survivor's benefit because they passed away. Now, let's assume you qualified for the maximum benefit at age 70. In 2025, that's $5,108 a month. If your spouse passes away when you're 70, your survivor's benefit will be the same amount that they were receiving. That means whether you waited or not, your benefit at age 70 is the same. So, what's the difference? Let's say the younger spouse collects at 62. Well, sure, they're locking in a lower benefit, but they're collecting from 62 to 70. That's 8 years of collecting from Social Security. And then at age 70, when let's say the older spouse passes away, they get the survivor's benefit that they would have gotten either way. So in households with a wide spousal age gap, and it's not even just an age gap, it's more of a life expectancy gap. When there is a large life expectancy gap, it's not just about maximizing your own benefit, it's about maximizing benefits over you and your spouse. Reason number four for taking Social Security early at 62. Well, it can unlock certain benefits. So there's two that come to mind. The first one is a child benefit. If you have a dependent child at home, your Social Security may trigger a child's benefit. That child has to be a minor and has to be a dependent. But if in this rare situation, you can collect Social Security at 62 and still have a minor child at home who's a dependent, this is a window that you could unlock a potential benefit by pulling early. The same is true for spousal benefits. For spousal benefits, the working spouse who has their own benefit has to start pulling Social Security before the spouse can. So, in this rare situation, you can have an older spouse or a working spouse who's working and pulling Social Security, and the younger spouse can now take their spousal benefits and unlock theirs. This is a rare situation, but it is also a unique tool to use when you're looking at potential Social Security filings at 62. Reason number 5. So let's say you really need the money, and that Social Security money is super, super necessary in order for the household to run. If someone's in a situation where if they are looking at delaying, but delaying Social Security will cause them to have to run up a bunch of credit cards or put themselves in a bad financial position for any reason, then the costs of that far outweigh the benefits of delaying Social Security. So if there's a huge financial need and delaying Social Security is going to cause someone to go into a bad financial position, then pulling Social Security at 62 is going to offset locking in a lower benefit by not going into a bunch of debt or getting into a really bad position. Remember, Social Security is a safety net, and sometimes using it as a safety net to prevent someone from going into a bad financial position is better than, delaying for the higher benefit. Now, on top of that, depending on your age, there can be a situation where you can take Social Security, start taking it, and then decide that you want to pause it, turn off the faucet, and allow those benefits to continue growing. Claiming Social Security benefits early does not mean you're locked in to take it forever. It's not a set it and forget it situation. Depending on your age, you can actually start to take benefits and then suspend them or turn off the faucet, essentially. This can be super helpful if you know that there's some type of project where that'll open up income for you, or some type of job that you're going to get in the near future, or there's some type of inheritance that you know is coming on down the road. Starting to take those Social Security benefits early and then turning it off isn't a unique financial planning tool that can be used in those circumstances. So there you have it. 5 really good reasons why pulling Social Security at 62 makes a whole lot of sense. When it comes to taking Social Security, the answer is not as simple as most people think. The conventional advice doesn't work for everybody. Having a deep understanding of your personal situation and looking at all angles allows you to open up doors that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So, deciding when to take Social Security is a major decision, and it can cost tens of thousands of dollars of lost income from Social Security if the wrong decision is made. That's why it's important to run the numbers and the analysis based on your personal situation and not go off some advice from a coworker at the water cooler. If you'd like help running these numbers and doing analysis to see what makes sense in terms of Social Security, when to pull it, either early or late, and delaying it, please reach out and give us a call. Reach out to our website below at www.inthemoneyretirement.com and schedule a call with us. See what we can do when it comes to your Social Security and when it's time to pull.